Good morning. My name is Alina from AUX Immigration News. Here's the same script with all sources removed and ready for voiceover as you requested. Here's a continuous voiceover-style script, without headings, bullets, or dates, summarizing the current situation of U.S. immigration and recent changes in policy and practice, in clear-spoken English and in an informative, neutral tone for a general audience, including people listening from India and other countries considering travel, study, work, or settlement in the United States. The story of U.S. immigration at the beginning of this year is a story of tightening rules, more intensive security checks, and growing uncertainty for many families, workers, and students around the world who are hoping to go to America. A new administration in Washington has made it clear that it wants to reduce overall legal immigration, expand enforcement inside the country, and restrict entry from a growing list of countries that are considered security risks or are viewed as having high levels of fraud or visa overstays. At the same time, routine processes like visa applications, green card processing, and work permit renewals are being affected by new vetting rules and by policy memos that tell officers to pause, recheck, and in some cases reopen files that previously would have moved ahead more smoothly. One of the biggest developments is the expansion of travel bans and entry suspensions that began in earlier years and have now been broadened to cover more countries and more types of visas. The U.S. government has identified a list of countries for which it believes there is insufficient security information or where officials say they are concerned about terrorism, organized crime, or document fraud. For nationals of these countries, U.S. consulates have been instructed to limit or stop issuing many types of visas, and immigration authorities inside the U.S. have been told to put applications on hold and to conduct fresh reviews of many cases that were already pending or even approved. This means that for people from the affected countries, both new travelers and longtime residents with pending applications may suddenly face long delays, extra interviews, new biometrics, or in some cases the risk that an earlier approval will be re-examined and possibly challenged. These changes are not limited to people abroad who are still waiting for visas. They also directly affect those who are already in the United States on temporary status or who are in the middle of the process to become permanent residents. A key policy memo from the main immigration agency instructs officers to impose a broad hold and review on benefit applications connected with the expanded travel ban countries, including applications to extend non-immigrant stays, adjust status to a green card, or change from one temporary category to another. Officials are directed to treat certain country-specific risk factors as serious negative elements when deciding whether to grant or deny a benefit, even when the applicant otherwise meets the basic legal requirements. In practice, this creates a second layer of discretionary judgment layered on top of the normal eligibility rules, leading to more uncertainty and a greater need for detailed documentation to show strong ties, clean records, and clear compliance with U.S. laws. Alongside the country-based restrictions, the U.S. is rolling out new forms of enhanced vetting and data-driven screening across the entire immigration system, touching students, skilled workers, tourists, family applicants, and even long-time residents who are applying for naturalization or other benefits. These measures include broader use of biometric checks, expanded sharing of information between immigration agencies and law enforcement or intelligence services, and, notably, a deeper look into social media and online presence for many applicants. In recent guidance, applicants for certain work visas and their dependent family members have been told that their online activity may be reviewed and that they should be prepared for detailed questions about their digital footprint, communications, and networks. This push toward more intensive vetting is meant, according to officials, to detect fraud and security threats, but it also increases processing times and makes the outcome of applications feel less predictable, especially for those who are unfamiliar with U.S. expectations around online behavior. To support this new approach, the Maine Immigration Service is establishing a dedicated screening and vetting center that will be responsible for reviewing high-risk cases, rechecking previously approved applications, and coordinating with other agencies on security-sensitive files. The center is expected to use detailed databases and risk models to identify cases for closer review, focusing first on nationals of countries that have been formally designated as of concern under presidential proclamations. For employers, universities, and families, This means they may see more requests for evidence, more surprise interviews, and more situations where an application that seemed to be progressing suddenly slows down or is transferred for additional checks. For those considering work in the United States, especially in the technology and professional sectors, the environment for H-1B visas and similar categories is likely to become more restrictive. Analysts following business immigration expect policies that emphasize hiring U.S. workers first, stricter definitions of specialty occupations, and closer scrutiny of wage levels offered to foreign professionals. The administration has signaled that it wants to cut back on what it views as overuse or abuse of high-skilled visas, and to encourage employers to raise salaries and prove that there are no qualified U.S. workers available before bringing in employees from abroad. At the same time, new vetting rules and consular backlogs are already causing delays in visa appointments, forcing many H-1B and H-4 holders to wait months for interviews or to reschedule planned travel and job start dates. The ripple effects extend to families and religious workers as well, where special categories are subject to changing legislative deadlines and extensions. For example, the law that temporarily extends a specific religious worker immigrant category has a fixed sunset date, after which no new visas can be issued unless Congress acts again. This leads to periods of intense uncertainty for religious organizations and applicants who have completed years of preparation, only to find that visa issuance may be paused if the program is not renewed in time. Family-sponsored categories remain capped by statute, and the worldwide annual limits for both family-based and employment-based immigrant visas are fixed numbers that interact with country-by-country caps. This structure produces long queues for applicants from high-demand countries, and in many categories, even small shifts in policy or demand from one region can affect waiting times for everyone else. The monthly visa bulletin issued by the U.S. government remains a crucial reference for people who are waiting for family-based or employment-based green cards. It sets out the cutoff dates that determine who is eligible to move ahead with final action or filing steps in each preference category and chargeability area. Commentators who track these bulletins note that some family categories, especially for certain countries, have seen modest forward movement, while others remain heavily backlogged, with priority dates many years in the past. Because the main immigration agency sometimes uses one of the bulletin's charts for filing and sometimes delays that decision, applicants must watch both the official bulletin and the agency's announcements to know whether they can actually submit adjustment applications in a given month. For universities and international students, there is heightened concern around how enhanced screening, social media checks, and travel ban expansions might affect new admissions and ongoing studies. Campus immigration offices have begun warning students from affected countries that applications for visas or for immigration benefits inside the U.S. could face longer processing, additional background checks, and the possibility of being placed on hold while new policy memos are implemented. Students and scholars are therefore being urged to plan travel carefully, to consult institutional advisors before leaving the U.S., and to keep all documents, employment records, and academic histories organized and ready for inspection if requested. Some universities also recommend giving more time for visa interviews and avoiding non-essential trips that could require new visa stamping in an era of reduced appointment availability and sudden consular cancellations. Behind all these changes lies a broader shift toward viewing immigration through a security and enforcement lens rather than primarily as an economic or humanitarian issue. The administration has promised to increase deportations of people who lack status or who have violated the terms of their visas, and to work more closely with state and local authorities on interior enforcement. This could mean more workplace audits, more cooperation between local law enforcement and federal immigration agencies, and greater pressure on employers to verify the status of their workforce and to avoid any appearance of hiring people without proper documents. For communities with large immigrant populations, this environment can create fear and confusion, as people worry about how routine encounters with authorities might interact with their immigration histories and ongoing applications. At the same time, there are areas of relative continuity where the underlying legal framework has not changed, even if the atmosphere has become stricter. The basic family-sponsored and employment-based categories still exist. The diversity visa program still allocates a set number of immigrant visas per year to people from underrepresented countries. And U.S. employers that meet all requirements can still sponsor workers across a range of occupations. What has changed is the way the rules are interpreted and enforced, the level of discretion given to officers, and the amount of supporting evidence that applicants are expected to provide. Those who succeed in navigating the system in the current climate tend to be people who file early, document thoroughly, monitor policy updates closely, and seek reliable professional or institutional guidance when needed. For listeners outside the United States, including in India, it is important to understand that many of these developments are systemic rather than personal, and that they may affect entire categories or nationalities at once. Prospective students, workers, and family applicants should take extra care to check the latest official information, track the relevant visa bulletin categories, and allow generous time for background checks and interviews. In a period of rapid policy evolution, treating immigration as a long-term project, rather than a quick administrative step, can help set realistic expectations and reduce stress when unexpected delays or requests arise. If you found this video helpful, please consider subscribing to AXU Immigration News for more clear, accurate, and timely immigration news. Share this video with someone who needs to know. Goodbye.